In the Gospel of Sri Ramakrishna again and again says, dive deep, dive deep. What's the use of floating on the surface? So it's probably some action he's referring to. What is this dive deep? The first thing one should do to dive deep is to occupy one's thoughts, one's time, one's days with spirituality. How do you do that? With the 4 yogas. At all times am I engaged with God, either through action or devotion or meditation or self-inquiry. Karma Yoga, Bhakti Yoga, Raja Yoga, Jnana Yoga. These are broad classifications. You'll find, in fact, in all religions of the world, some variety which will fit in any one of these 4 paths, or more than 4, across multiple of yogas. Am I engaged in that? And it's possible to be engaged in that. Even the so-called secular actions can be spiritualized under the broad head of Karma Yoga. So then my one and only goal becomes God, enlightenment. The rest is basically all nonsense. The rest, as we spend so much of our time in this virtual world, the simulation of Maya. One senior Swamiji said this, we call it the relative world. Don't use such terms as, things of the relative world, job, money, relationships, maybe they are relatively useful. No, they are not even relatively useful. They are positively harmful. From a spiritual perspective, from ultimately if you want enlightenment. So, spiritualize all of that. And in fact, externally not much may change. Your focus will change in life. Externally, you still have a job, you still have parents and siblings and husband, wife, children, all of that job is going on. Everybody must have a field of action. Kurukshetra was the field of action for Arjuna. It's a battlefield of action. That has to be spiritualized. Then the next thing, so this is the preliminary of Dubdao. This is even just the beginning as we spend our time and our days with God. But as we do that, we will begin to see in each of these yogas, it is possible to deepen. Karma Yoga can be deepened. Not just being ethical and doing some good to others, but this inner feeling of offering it to the divine. God in all beings, I am worshipping God. I have come across this multiple times. Actually, having a spirit of worship in our hospitals, in our schools. I have seen and known monks who have practiced this. I met this monk this time in my tour of India, whom I'd seen more than 5 years ago. I was amazed at his spiritual development. The power he has accumulated. I gave a talk. Everybody expects, Vedanta talk, Swami Sarvapiryananda and all of that. But then this young monk, he stood up and spoke. He shook the hall by the sheer power of character and sincerity and positivity and conviction. Just the force. And what was his secret? Service. Just seeing God in everybody and working for them. It was a very strange audience actually, unique. 180 cops, police. These were policemen in charge of different parts of police stations of different parts of Calcutta. Tough crowd to motivate. Often you would see that they're a very cynical crowd. So you can deepen service, and you realize how far spread are the tentacles of self-interest. And you see what deepening means, and how freeing and how purifying it is not to be concerned with one's little self. The worries and problems, and it's not important. The other one is important. God is present in those forms. This little body, mind, these problems are unimportant. Then you can deepen Bhakti Yoga. Not just a little bit of ritualistic worship, not just a prayer, but the most powerful force we have, love. Collect it from all the ways we have scattered it in the forms of passion and desire and relationships in the world. You collect that energy and make it stream upwards towards God. That's love. I think it was C.S. Lewis who wrote that book, Mere Christianity. And he said, what is devotion? What is faith in God? He says, the best example I can give, which people in the world will understand easily, is to fall in love. When you fall in love, you don't give reasons and all that. That comes later. But you just fall in love. So you fall in love with God. Try it. You see how deep it can become. Then, of course, meditation can be deepened. You start doing meditation, you'll begin to see there's so much scope of deepening it. We float. It becomes very clear how we are floating on the surface. Especially in meditation becomes clear. And what is diving deep there is stillness, is focus, is clarity, and the living experience. I mentioned Swami Suhitanandaji and Swami Premeshanandaji. Towards the end, in fact, the very end of Swami Premeshanandaji's life, he asked his attendant, did you want anything, want to know anything? And a couple of things the attendant asked. Attendant is Swami Suhitananda himself, he told me. So one thing he asked was that one he got an answer, the other one he didn't get an answer. The first thing he asked was, these pictures we see. So you look at these pictures all the time, Swami. Are they pictures to you or are they real? And Swami Premeshanji said they are real. God exists. I see Sri Ramakrishna, Holy Mother, Swami Vivekananda. The next question he asked, of course, it's not relevant to us, but just the what do you call it, the chutzpah of the young attendant. He said, you were initiated by the Holy Mother. Tell me that mantra. And the Swami point blank, he smiled and said, no. That cannot be done. Actually, he did just a part of it and he said, stop, no further.